So the audience is still there. If you look at TV ratings, you'll still see that your generations, which is like our biggest soapy, they're still raking in like millions of viewers on a daily basis, right? So it's definitely there. But I think as a marketer, there's no way that you can use just TV as your medium, right? You almost have to do like a 360 campaign.
We got it next. That's how you finesse. We come for they next. We come to collect. Did it all on my own, yeah. When it brought it back home, yeah. Now they calling my phone, yeah. But I'm all in my zone. They not a threat. Tell them reset. When they're at their best, we still not impressed. Did it all on my own, yeah. When it brought it back home, yeah. Bought a watch with the stones, yeah.
Right before we start, we want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Chapter. Chapter ensures that your online business never sleeps. We started Chapter when you realize that businesses use social media to talk to their customers and they end up losing up to 40% of their sales due to abandoned carts. This happens when a customer DMs you on Instagram, a customer sends you a message on WhatsApp and you're not able to respond within 7 minutes. This then leads the customer to look for another business to look for that particular good or service that you're offering. With Chapter, you can be able to elevate the customer experience by running AI agents that can be able to respond to customers in less than 30 seconds on both Instagram and WhatsApp. If you want to make sure your business never sleeps, if you want to make sure that you can increase the revenue you're able to make by up to 5x, just visit www.chapter.co and we'll be able to help you. So that's Chapter without an A, so chpter.co. And we'll be able to turn your business into a business that will thrive in the AI future.
Hello, champions. Welcome back to your favorite entrepreneurship podcast on the continent. And I'm very excited to have the first lady of this series in South Africa. We're joined by none other than Nokuthula or Nox. Yeah, it's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So Nox has an extensive background in the fields of marketing and also in business. And she came from corporate South Africa, working with SABC and Old Mutual and Batu, and is now the founder and chief strategy officer of the Win Media, which focuses on creating media campaigns, brand and marketing strategies, experiential events, PR, comms, and all this stuff around different industries and also multiple brands. So she'll tell us about all that stuff. It's going to be an exciting one. I can't wait to learn about the intersection of all these disciplines and how all these things marry. I think it's going to be a very interesting episode.
I think so too.
Yes. So thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
So we'll start with hearing your favorite life of business quote.
There's one that always just rings in my head that says, it always seems impossible until it's done. Right. And that really talks to, how you persevere through life or a goal or whatever it is that you're chasing. Right. Yeah. So a lot of things really just seem unattainable until you push through and you really focus on it and you hone on it and you get the skills necessary to get you across the line. So once you get to the finishing line, what a fulfilling, feeling to say that I did that, when you look back. So yeah, absolutely that. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Say impossible is nothing.
Impossible is nothing.
And we come from the land of marathoners. So with Eliud Kipchoge, there's no human is limited.
See?
Yeah.
So anything really is possible. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And who's Nox?
Born and bred in Port Elizabeth, now known as Gqeberha, in the Eastern Cape. I'm an only child to my mom, raised by my grandmother. What a loving lady. I think, a lot of who I am today has been shaped by, just a love and a care and, just her cheering me on, however the small the task may be at the time. Just journeying through life. And I think she gave me so much confidence to say that you can do it. Look, and so they're doing it, and you can also do it. Grew up in PE, very much community area. You can literally go to your neighbor and knock and ask for tea bags. That's the kind of environment I grew up in, full of love, full of care, safe, small town, everyone knows everyone. And I did my schooling there, I did my varsity life there. I did my marketing at the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. And it just humble beginnings, and I came to Joburg for work purposes, but I think that foundation and that background has just like given me a lot to work from in life. In those moments where you think, who am I, you just tap back into those memories, and you have something to hold on to. So pretty much grounded, pretty much humble beginnings, pretty much community, safe, love. That's the kind of background I grew up in. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's very interesting, the difference between like men and ladies. For majority of the guys, when we ask like, who are you? The first thing that comes to mind is like professional and career and all that. Yeah, but I really like it when you identify with your roots. So that is a great answer. That's a great answer.
Thank you, Tash.
And how did you end up in Johannesburg? Did you apply for a job? Like, what happened?
Yes, I did. It's so crazy. So I touched briefly on how my grandmother, just sort of like inspired me to be a lot of things, right? So I remember just towards me graduating, right? And now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking marketing is not big in PE because all the head offices are in Joburg, right? So you kind of have to find your way through. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, what's next? What happens once I graduate, right? And I remember writing on SABC One's Facebook page on the wall. Back in the day, there were walls, right, on Facebook. This is like 2012, right? And I wrote there, I was like, do you guys have any marketing internship roles? And no one answered, obviously. But I think, I don't know if that was me just like planting into the universe, because my first job, or the job that moved me to Johannesburg, was actually at the SABC, and I looked after SABC One, right? But I think that also came with preparation. It was about what I am doing whilst I'm waiting for this big break of mine. So when I was still in PE as a student, I did promotions, very much in line with marketing. And then I worked at call centers, also very much in line, because that's lead generation, that's sales, right? And I then applied for this role on the SABC website. I didn't know anyone at the SABC, no connections, but I just, I was full of faith, and I had big dreams, and I saw myself outside of Port Elizabeth, doing big things and just being this marketing person. And, now I have this qualification, I suppose, and came for an interview. Oh, actually, they interviewed me over the phone first. And then they said, when can you come to Johannesburg for a second round of interviews? I said tomorrow. And let me tell you, I didn't have money for a flight ticket, and the bus was going to take obviously forever. I would never have made my appointment on time. So, I then went home and I told my grandma, I was like, I've got an interview tomorrow in Johannesburg. And that impressed them so much, because to them it translated as, this is someone that takes initiative. This is someone that really wants this job. And when I came, it was really just like a meet and greet.
They're not going to send you back to PE
They didn't. They actually didn't, So I think what I'm trying to say with that story is, we just have to always take initiative. If we don't believe in ourselves, you can't expect then the next person to believe in ourselves, right? So that's pretty much how I came to Johannesburg. I came for my first role at the SABC, working in the marketing and sales space. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, SABC is South Africa's version of KBC. So it's
Yes.
South African Broadcasting
Correct.
Corporation, right?
Yes.
So it's
correct.
government.
It's a national broadcaster.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens?
So there I am looking after the biggest channel in South Africa. Obviously, people at home are proud. My name goes up on the screen. With programs. But I think that also just then exposed me to working with brands and media agencies, right? Because what my role was at the SABC was to generate revenue for the SABC. So I had targets that I needed to meet, but I also had programming to sell to these agencies, right? So I would go in, identify solutions for these brands and say, hey, here's an opportunity. You can come in and you can do your product placement in here, and this is how much it's going to cost. Obviously, that then, kills my targets, but at the same time, the brand is getting exposure on air. So that's pretty much what I did. And then I got to understand, obviously, the marketing side of things and how it intertwines with programming. And that was great exposure, most definitely. Yeah.
So budgets,
targets, brand integrations. You understand what the brand objectives are and how, it gets to, because the mediums are often the last, in the value chain of marketing. So then you get to see where it starts from strategy and how it then translates to you seeing it on TV. And obviously then it's the reporting and that kind of thing. Okay. So, just seeing that, how things come to life, the product launches, the partnerships, it's quite an interesting space. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Would you say at that point that you had landed your dream job?
Yes and no. Okay. Yes, from the perspective of, coming from PE, obviously I never imagined that I'd be on SABC. Yeah. But at the same time, I knew that there was more. And I think also because the role was more on the sales side of things, I started marketing. So I wanted to do the cool stuff, the exciting stuff, I wanted to be on the client side. And I think that was always the struggle, but also maybe not necessarily leaving the SABC, but maybe just jumping into the marketing department, and just seeing how they do things, given in my experience at the time. Okay. But I think I'm grateful, nonetheless, for starting there, because you'll get to understand as the conversation, goes forward, to say that I've had various roles within the marketing space and how everything has sort of like come full circle.
Yes.
So I don't think that anything was a mistake. I think I was just meant to be on the journey. Yeah. Okay.
And taking you a bit back, when did you realize you wanted to be in marketing?
Sure. So initially, I had started. I'd applied for media communications or something like that, because I actually wanted to be a journalist. Okay. And I know, right? Yeah. And but the varsity where I was, the university, they didn't have just straight up, journalism. I'd need to move elsewhere, and funds were a thing, right? Yeah. So then I thought, okay, what's the closest thing? Communications seemed to be it, but I didn't make it in terms of like the entrance requirement at the varsity. And then I went into the extended program. I played when I got to varsity. I failed the first year. Yeah. And then I had to take a gap year.
Thank you for saying that. That's bold.
I failed dismally. I was embarrassed, okay? Yeah. And then I took a gap year. I was like, okay, what do you want to do, right? Yeah. And then I think marketing came to mind, you know, and I looked at what possibilities there are. I think now, having gone through that process in that, the first year of varsity, I then understood. I then, I was sober-minded now to say, what can I actually do? I think at first I was excited. I didn't really have direction. But now I was older. I'd embarrassed myself, my family. I wanted to make my grandmother proud. And I knew that, the next time I go back, I better have that certificate with me. Yeah. I failed.
So you made that happen.
Absolutely.
How did your career progress post SABC?
Okay.
What happened? What made you make a leap?
Yeah, so I was actually at the SABC for 6 years, not because of my, own doing or wanting to be there that long, but it just seemed impossible for me to break out of the sales environment and into marketing, right? And I would apply and I would get rejection letters, left, right, and center. And obviously, it does something to your self-esteem, right? Because you're just like, I can't do this. I know, I just need someone to give me a chance, right? And so I remember again on LinkedIn, I DM'd Sylvester Chauke, who's the CEO of DNA Brand Architects. And I asked him to have any roles at your agency, because I would see them on social media. They're doing amazing things and they're young and they're funky, and so, but they're also working with big brands. And I was like, do you have any roles at your company? And then he responded, he gave me the HR email address, right? I shot my shot. They didn't say anything. I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw they advertised the role. I applied for it and they called me in for an interview. I went and then it went quiet. So now I'm frustrated. I'm like, I can feel it. It's almost here, but it's just not happening, right? So and then I think a couple of months later, I think 3-4 months later, I had another interview with them and I got the job. Wow. So now I had transitioned from, this broadcaster, I transitioned from the sales environment and now I'm going into a PR and comms, public relations and communications, which was like another world altogether. And I remember getting there and, everyone seems to know what they're doing and this world is new to me. But I mean, I'm not one to embarrass myself or talk myself down. I'm like, I can do this as well. I have those self-talks. And so... And so I then was asked to jump onto a telecom, one of the clients, which was the biggest client in the agency at the time. And, I remember stepping in there and it was just a mess in the beginning. It was so bad. But, sort of like found our way through the account. We did some pretty amazing things. And it was just fun. COVID hit, we're able to work through that as well. And I remember us pitching for the contract to be renewed for another 3 years on telecom. And by the time I left the agency, after 3 years or so, the agency had retained the client, right? And I was so proud of myself. I was so proud. I was like, wow, from finding it, being a mess to then ultimately, getting it, to stay in the agency. That which was like a big thing at the time. So I then was at DNA Brand Architects. I left. I was now becoming a mom. Very exciting time of my life. And I just wanted something new and and different and a much more calmer as well, because now I'm going to be a mom, right? So in my head, I'm starting to prep.
Agency life is hectic.
It's very hectic. It's very hectic. So I thought, let me slow down a bit. So I went to an insurance company. I was there, I think, for like 2 months. It was COVID times. There wasn't much activity. And so my previous manager from DNA got an opportunity at Batu to be the MD. And so he was building his team and he asked me to come and join as the marketing manager of Batu. Testament again, I suppose, to, the kind of work that we did with the telecom client and, at DNA. So that was pretty cool. I mean, Batu is a huge brand, doing amazingly well. So everyone wants to be a part of it. So it was a no-brainer for me. I jumped. 2 months after I jumped, I went and joined. We did pretty cool stuff, but to also expose me to the retail side of things. I worked with Theo Baloyi, who's the founder and CEO. Learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from the colleagues, just from the industry as well, so from partnerships and the strategies that we're coming up with. It was, pretty cool.
Awesome. If you haven't watched Theo's episode, we did it a couple of episodes ago. So be sure to check the lessons out from that journey.
My former boss,
Okay, cool. Nice. I'm happy you have great things to say about them. I think it's an incredible brand. So at all this time, like, has the entrepreneurship bug bit yet? Are you thinking, I might start my thing? I want to start.
Absolutely. So, I actually posted the other day, and I don't know what I was doing on my emails, and this thing just came up. So, sometimes you do things, you plant seeds and you forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So now I have this passion for the beauty and wellness industry, and I'm just like, I really just want to do my own thing, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
what is it? What does it look like? Okay, I've got a passion. Let me maybe do this, right? So 2018, when I was still at the SABC, I reached out to Sobe. They also in the beauty space. They have quite a number of stores and franchises across South Africa. And I reached out because I wanted a franchise, right? I saw myself having one. And obviously it didn't quite work out. I didn't have the millions, at the time.
Yeah.
But I think what I wanted to understand is what does it take, so I can start prepping myself along for that.
Okay.
Needless to say, it didn't happen. I probably forgot about it, but that passion then grew in what a business that I then got to coin Gone Girl Beauty and Wellness, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely there, even with the marketing. And that's why I said that, you'll see how everything just becomes 360 because you get exposed to different industries in your career, right? And you also are doing like different roles, and you are doing sales and marketing, you are doing PR and comms, you're doing sponsorships, digital, all these great things, not really understanding that one day you are really just becoming an all-rounder and that all this experience will come in handy, right?
Yes.
So that then made me want to do or open up my own marketing media agency, because as you go along, you also get lessons, you get what can I do better? What is the need right now? Is there anything that I'm solving? So I think, most definitely. And I mean, you can't work with like giants like a Theo Baloy or Sylvester Chauke, as your boss and your bosses and not be inspired to also to be great and do great things. So I think, most definitely it's been there. It bit, it bit,
Very cool. So I think, just curious, would you consider yourself self-made?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely. I think first and foremost, it starts with God for me. It also starts with my background, as I mentioned earlier. But I think it's just been a series of people giving me opportunities along the way, right? People taking chances on me, people believing in me, people cheering me on. Yes, obviously you put in the work and you don't disappoint, but I don't think that anyone is self-made. I think we constantly just shaping the journey, right? Whether we're reading books or we are consuming podcast content, just learning from other people's journeys. But I think and obviously that then shapes us into who we become. But I definitely don't think I'm self-made.
I love that answer because I don't agree with the term self-made as well. It takes a village.
It takes a village, absolutely. Yeah.
And people believing in you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another interesting question, right before we dive into the world of what you do at the Win, is who's one person or that you'd say has really inspired you, especially through your career journey? Do you have a mentor?
I don't. I would have loved to have one. Don't get me wrong. But I've also just found that people get busy, the higher people go, people get busy. I think that they would love to impart knowledge, but I also think that, there's a lot of Nokuthulas wanting this one person and it's just impossible to be everything to everyone, right? So I would have loved to get a mentor, but I never had the opportunity. I knocked on doors and it just didn't happen, I suppose. But I think like I just alluded to, then you start consuming, the content and the knowledge, from different mediums, I suppose, be it books, be it podcasts, or, interviews of various people. And I also don't believe in like having one person as your mentor. I think I really just believe that we extract different things from different people depending on the journeys that we're in. And so you sort of like craft your own mentor in your own, in your world, and the kind of person that, so I've never had a mentor. I've been inspired definitely by different people, people that I look up to in the marketing space. So for example, I always reference Gugu Mthembu, who's the CMO of Telkom. She's a lady, but also she's a beast in the boardroom, so those are the people that I'd look up to because I saw myself as that, right? And then there's others that that don't even know that I look up to them, like a Vika Shepalana, also in the marketing brand space, but she's a wife, she's the mother, and she's a businesswoman now as well, so again, talking to extracting different things from different people. And there's men obviously, that are doing well as well in the business space. Not only limited to females.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it, Okay, cool. So tell us a bit more about the Win Media. The Win. It's about winning, or
absolutely.
Okay. Tell us.
So the name really comes from when a client, I believe anyways, when a client requires services of an agency, they are obviously wanting to win at something, right? Be it sales, be it awareness, be it lead generation, whatever it is, right? So imagine now you are appointed as the agency and the client has attained their goals or their target, and you all there as a bunch of winners type thing. So that's how the name came about, to say that we'll get you through the line, we'll walk the journey with you type thing. So and so what we do is that we do influencer management, we do media strategy, buying, planning, we do experiential events, we do production, currently working actually on a TV show with one of the departments, with proposal stages, just backing and forthing for now. Again, talking to, my experience and my background, now the SABC comes in, and all that wealth of knowledge that I learned from there. So now I'm taking the broadcasting with the TV show and the brand, and I'm saying, what are your objectives? How can we amplify them? How do we get the public to know what it is that you're doing, and how do we attract potential clients for you, right? I mean, as government departments, you can't just sit in your corner. You almost have to account to the people that you're serving. And so, that's what we are doing with this particular department, and that is super exciting for me. But outside of that, we are really just doing ad hoc things for now. Working with another global brand for influencer management. So that's launching now on the 1st of December. And there's also a guy that I met. So I also consulted for Ambani Africa, right, which is an edtech a company. And so part of my role there was to introduce the company to like various markets. And so one of the departments took us to Geneva in Switzerland. That was like an access to markets thing, right? This was at the WUSIS a summit. And so I met a guy there. His name is Francis, and he's got this AI device that helps with breast cancer detection early on, right? So he wants to bring it to South Africa. And so we're working together, in terms of doing that. So he's currently in the US. So that's another exciting project that we'll be working on as the Win Media. We mainly do, access to market, production, pretty much anything really. As an agency.
Okay, I get it. As an agency, it's wide array of services around
absolutely
marketing, go-to-market.
So
in terms of like your work over the last couple of years, what is that one project that you're so proud of? That you'd like to chat about.
Maybe it's when I was at Batu. There's a number of them, but I think, this one is quite recent. where the marketing team of Batu recently just won an award in Bangkok.
Okay.
So that's a campaign that I worked on.
Okay.
Even here at home, it won multiple awards. So, it was really just about embracing, who we are as Africans. Theo had named the sneaker, or it was a collaboration between him and the sneaker, about who we are. And he had named it after his clan name, So very much unheard of, because you know how people will shy away from using clan names in terms of brands, because now you're excluding a certain, clan name. Why must I wear your clan name? So that was very bold of us at the time. This was 2023.
Okay.
That was very bold, very risque, and there was backlash as well. But we found that people from like Zimbabwe were embracing it, because there's apparently Kalanga people in Zimbabwe.
Kalanga,
so
okay.
then they related to the brand. So, and I suppose you can't please everyone, right? But yeah, that when I heard, that campaign had won an award in Bangkok, I was quite proud of that.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's well done. They say if you try to please everyone, you please no one. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's dope. You talked about some backlash.
Yes.
And I have a question, which is from your background. They say that no PR is bad PR. What are your thoughts on this?
Man, it depends, hey? It really depends.
There's something else they say also, like every PR crisis is a what?
An opportunity? No?
Yeah, something close to that. But yeah.
Yeah, no. I think it depends. I think, where we are right now, it's very fickle.
Okay.
And so people are not loyal. Customers are not loyal, right? And I also think there's a lot of entrants in the markets. There's a lot of competition right now. And so you almost have to always guard your brand, with everything that you have. And that's why you'll see people engaging in CSI work, a number of things, because you constantly trying to showcase to people that, we are a good brand outside of what we offer to you as a service or a product. But, there's also other goods that we do. So I think it really, really, really depends. If you're getting good PR, absolutely. But I think maybe back in the day it worked. Not now. Not. No, please don't.
Man, Jaguar is just going through it at the moment. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting one for me. I would love to understand what the rationale is, because people are not excited about change.
Yeah.
They're not they're very fickle to it as well. So in marketing, we learned that, you constantly have to introduce change, like bit by bit, like subtly, and that's why you'll see FNB also did like an entire rebrand. But if you look at the previous logo and the current logo, there's slight differences, right? So once you go drastic, it's a shocker to the system. So they're going through it. I would really love to understand what the rationale was behind it, and what they're hoping to achieve, really.
Same. I'm curious. I'm a fan of the previous and also how they brought it out.
Absolutely.
That whole video campaign.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of campaigns that that we've seen. Barbie is top of head. How they did the whole partnerships, the budgets that were behind it, and how they introduced the movie that was coming up. So that was great. That was excellent. I think we're also seeing it now with Checkers and just how they on the beat. They were delivering to France when the Springboks were playing the World Cup there, right? They recently rebranded a plane, with the whole thing of saying that we're delivering, your families to their families, basically, right? So they're on the pulse. They're constantly doing exciting, innovative things, but it's much relatable. I think, you constantly have to think who my target market is and how they will receive this. Because then if you just like go off the mark, then you'll definitely get the backlash.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about that, like what attributes do you think make you a great marketer?
Hey, I think I've been lucky, really. I'll keep saying this because I was able to dabble in different industries. So I've worked in telco, I've worked in tech, I've worked in retail, broadcasting, insurance, right? And I think the other reason for the Win Media is so that we can tap into more industries. Obviously now not as an not as an employee, but rather as a partner or as an agency, right? So I think, obviously now coming with that experience into the different brands that we are working with and that we'll be working with, there's that understanding. You're not starting from scratch because I really don't think that you can deliver great marketing campaigns if you don't understand the space that your client plays in, right? You'll miss it. You constantly have to go back, research, what are the trends, what's happening, what's the history, who are the competitors, so... Yeah, I think that definitely, that fact that I'm a generalist or I'm an all-rounder in terms of marketing, and I've done promotion, sales, strategies, brand, marketing, it just sums it up. Absolutely.
Powerful.
So I think, that's exciting for me.
Yeah, that's solid. And it's actually a very unique competitive advantage.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So this industries, like you came from broadcasting where you were selling time, airtime on TV,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the world has since then really evolved. Now, like capturing audience attention on social media.
Absolutely.
And then like things are just moving so fast. Who watches TV anyway?
Absolutely.
Anymore? So what are some of the big shifts that you've seen over the years, and where do you think this is going?
Yeah, I mean, with the introduction of AI, digital, like a lot has changed, right? I often chat to my former colleagues and, just like, how are sales? How are you guys doing? And, they'd say, oh, clients are shifting budgets from TV to digital, right? But having said that, there are still people that watch TV, believe it or not. That's people, for example, in your Port Elizabeth, where I come from, that don't necessarily have, the means to pay your Wi-Fi on a monthly basis. Okay. So the audience is still there. If you look at TV ratings, you'll still see that your generations, which is like our biggest soapy, they're still raking in like millions of viewers on a daily basis, right? So it's definitely there, but I think as a marketer, there's no way that you can use just TV as your medium, right? You almost have to do like a 360 campaign, because then if you miss your audience on TV, then you are getting them as they're going to work via radio, whether they're using public transport or, they're driving to work and they are tuned into their favorite breakfast show, or when they get to their desktop or laptop at work and, they are busy, researching and there your ad pops up, right? Or they are just scrolling on social media and, your ad is there as well. So you almost have to be everywhere, as a marketer, as a brand, just to create that visibility and just so that you're top of mind. Again, there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of competitors in the market. And so you just always have to find ways. I mean, even with eventing and sponsorships and experiential, how are you using those platforms and those the platforms, to communicate with your audiences, right? Can they feel and touch your brand? How are you capturing the data? How are you then communicating to them post that, right? So it's a number of things that one has to consider. Obviously, depending on what target market they're targeting. But AI is also just an interesting space. But I think we haven't really fully explored it. I think there's a bit of a fear to say, will it take our jobs? If we bring it too much into the campaigns, but I think slowly but surely it's starting to creep in. It's interesting to see how like where it's going to end up and how far we'll take it. And it's interesting times, but AI definitely is something to look out for.
As we move ahead. It's definitely going to change the game.
Absolutely. It has,
So it's what I'm finding more like sort of like a paradox is right now is sort of the easiest time to start a brand because I can open an Instagram page. I can open a personal TikTok page and produce content on my phone and blow up. But at the same time, there's a lot of competition for everybody's eyeballs. So, I mean, if you're not a big brand, you can't afford the billboards and radio and TV and just being everywhere. Then as a small brand, as much as it's easy to start, it's hard to get attention.
Yeah.
So a lot of, what would you advise businesses, SMEs, like 1-2 strategies that can make them stand out in a world that is just full of noise?
Sure. So I'm a marketer, right? And one would go into business thinking that I know it, I'll be able to capture this audience. I got this.
Yeah.
And I learned personally now with my beauty business that that's not the case, you know. Previously, you had these big budgets, and now you're tapping into your own pockets, and you are literally splitting this budget into different things. There's the operations, there's the marketing, and I've also just realized that customers are not loyal. Customers go where the price is, so they'll see your ads, they'll engage with them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will translate to them coming to your store, to your brick and mortar, right? Or to even your online store. So consistency, most definitely, because I think as the business starts, right, you're excited, you're offering this product, you believe in it so much, but there's so many things that then happen thereafter that can derail you, that can discourage you, from your plans. When you don't see the customers coming in or you don't see the money coming in. And I think, just being consistent and, then that then drives the brand and you then, deliver on quality service. Your price is right. I find that it's a mixture of things. Your location is also right. Then you will have a better chance of winning. You can't then just focus on just the product and you think you have it. It's, the marketing mix that they would teach us at school. It really, really does work. So you constantly have to be reviewing, is my pricing right? What are the competitors doing? What am I doing? What's my competitive advantage? Do I give my customers Wi-Fi so that they can come during working hours and they can, be plugged in while they're working, and they sort of like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone because time is also a commodity, right?
Yeah.
So what am I doing that is convenient for my customers? In turn, they are supporting me. So I think it's a number of things. But definitely consistency for me and the hard work, obviously, and constantly being curious. It rings through. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So throughout this journey, what's been one of your biggest setbacks?
I think it's access to market, hey? When you have these big brands behind you and you have access because you're working for a particular brand, then you think you have built all these relationships because your phone is blowing up, people want to talk to you, and then you leave, and then it's a lonely journey and no one is calling you. So I think definitely access to markets, because now you're basically business developing. You're looking for business. You're looking for business, and people do business with people that they trust. So there you are. You haven't really done anything really to showcase what you can do, except for referring to work that you've done when you're employed, And so, I think having an ear, having someone give you the opportunity, the chance to prove yourself, because I really just believe that once you have that big break, it's easier to attract, other brands or other clients as well.
Okay.
So I think, definitely access to markets.
Yeah. And so far, what would you say outside the experience that you personally have across various industries, what would you say gives people that confidence to work with your agency? How old is it, by the way?
It's as long as I left a corporate, so about a year now.
About a year,
yeah.
And I mean, you're doing amazing stuff. So what did you say? And then there's the connections you've built over the time.
Absolutely.
But are there particular things or ways of working that you're deploying that you feel make your business truly unique?
Absolutely. So, you know, and I think that's why I first started by consulting with the EdTech agency. I really wanted to understand and immerse myself in the world of EdTech because at the time I didn't quite understand it. And so I don't think that you can do compelling work and, get the results or drive the results that you're wanting unless you are fully present. Because what I find a lot of times from my personal experience as well, having worked with agencies, is that, the client is there and the agency is there, because there's also multiple clients that they're juggling, right? It's not a bad thing. But, one really just needs to understand who their client is and what space they play in, because that's the only way that you'll be able to come up with work that answers to their objectives and, just make them stand out. Yeah. So I think, just taking time to understand the client, so that the results are also just as reflective of what the client is wanting to do. Most definitely. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So, and going forward, what do you think is sort of like your big thing, the next big thing for you, NBT?
Look, I think my journey continues. I haven't done half the things that I have in my head. I'm a dreamer, by the way. So I have all these crazy ideas in my head, and I think once I have, I guess, sift through what I have in my head right now, and that is like working with a bank, working with a broadcaster, obviously now as an agency. Once those things have been done, I don't know, man. I just want to do like big work. What that means, I guess, is dependent on someone saying, here's an opportunity and I can fully execute. But for now, I think, I have a list or a target list of clients or industries rather that I would like to work with, a bank being one of them. Okay. I have this crazy idea that involves varsities and, how we can tap into the youth space. Okay. Because I don't feel like brands are doing much in that space. It's just like a campaign or an event here. But how do we make it sustainable going forward? So it's those kind of things. How do we help the youth? How do we propel them forward? How do we set them up, So those are the kind of things that I want to do. It's almost like work with impact. And I think, maybe that's then the answer. It's impact, right? Having to look back and say that, this is what I've done and this is what it did. Or this person or that person has been impacted by the work that I contributed to. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So as we head towards wrapping up, what are some of the top lessons that you'd like to give entrepreneurs or people looking to jump into the space?
Yeah. I'd say really research the space that you're going into and fully understand it. Okay. If you can work in a company that offers more or less what you'd like to do, then maybe do that as well. Maybe getting a mentor that is also in that space would also be a great thing. Because I think I've really just realized that it's one thing thinking that you can do something, but until you're in that space, it's a different ballgame altogether, So I think just like fully get yourself in, understand what the technicalities of being in that space are. That's one. I think then, save up as much as you possibly can because business requires a lot of money. You can't then take from your savings, to put into this business because it will chow it up and you won't have any monies, right? And don't quit your job. Like if you're in a job whilst you're building your business, please start it as a side hustle. Definitely one of my biggest lessons. That's a rude awakening. So I think, if you can start your business whilst you are still employed, please do that. It will save you from a lot of heartache.
Swim in the shallow end before you go to the deep end.
Exactly.
Where you can stand and breathe a bit.
Exactly. Because business will chow your money like nobody's business.
That's true. That's exciting stuff. I really enjoyed this episode.
I did too. It made me think about a number of things actually. Thank you.
A lot of wisdom, I guess, from the many years in the streets.
In the street hustling. And many more to come.
Many more to come. So wishing you all the best.
Thank you.
And guys, that was Nox for you. Inspiring entrepreneur, and clearly like she's going places. And please subscribe so you get notified when the next episode drops. And we will tag Nox so that you can follow her journey, follow her business, and you know where to find us as well. So chapter.co and chapter across all social media platforms. So follow us. Yes. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time. See ya.
We got it next. That's how you finesse. We come for they next. We come to collect. Did it all on my own, yeah. Went and brought it back home, yeah. Now they calling my phone, yeah. But I'm all in my zone. They not a threat. Tell them reset. When they at their best. We still not impressed. Did it all on my own, yeah. Went and brought it back home, yeah. Bought a watch with the stones, yeah.
Right before we start, we want to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Chapter. Chapter ensures that your online business never sleeps. We started Chapter when you realize that businesses use social media to talk to their customers and they end up losing up to 40% of their sales due to abandoned carts. This happens when a customer DMs you on Instagram, a customer sends you a message on WhatsApp, and you're not able to respond within 7 minutes. This then leads the customer to look for another business to look for that particular good or service that you're offering. With Chapter, you can be able to elevate the customer experience by running AI agents that can be able to respond to customers in less than 30 seconds on both Instagram and WhatsApp. If you want to make sure your business never sleeps, if you want to make sure that you can increase the revenue you're able to make by up to 5x, just visit www.chapter.co and we'll be able to help you. So that's Chapter without an A, so chpter.co, and we'll be able to turn your business into a business that will thrive in the AI future.